If you don't know, Agege bread is a very soft, buttery and very sweet bread which consists of 6 basic ingredients: the flour, sugar, salt, water, yeast and butter. Any other thing added to it is additional. I have made a video on this Agege bread before, but I'm also going to repeat this video, or I'm repeating this video to show you guys a secret to the best Agege bread that has a longer shelf life, which nobody will and have ever told you. So I want you to relax and watch this video to the end. You're going to learn a lot from this video. Also, I'll be answering your questions on the type of flavoring you can use, like the questions I got from my last video, and also the substitute you can use for the vitamin C for your Agege bread. So just don't go anywhere. Just like in the first recipe, we'll start by making the dough. So you measure out 480 grams of room temperature water into your mixer bowl, and to this you add 150 grams of granulated sugar. Then you add in 15 grams of salt and half tablespoon of mixed zest flavor. So this mixed zest flavor replaces the industrial bread flavor I used in my first recipe. So if you can't get the industrial bread flavor, you can use the mixed zest, you can use butterscotch or vanilla flavor normally used in your cakes. Then for the replacement of the vitamin C, which makes the bread fluffier, softer and more compact, you can replace that with 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. Okay, so the next thing, you add in half teaspoon of cinnamon powder, or you can use mixed spice. Then 10 grams of instant dry yeast. Lastly, you add in 1 kg of all-purpose flour. You can also use bread flour for this recipe. Okay, then once you have added your flour, you put that to start mixing, and as it's mixing, you measure out 80 grams of butter or margarine and make sure you melt this butter or margarine, whichever one you are using. For this recipe I used margarine. Start mixing the dough first with the low speed, because if you use a high speed, the flour is going to splash or spread out or everywhere. So you have to start with the low speed, and once your dough is combined, you start adding in the melted butter. And also don't add the melted butter all at once, because if you add it all at once, by the time you start mixing, it's going to splash. So you have to be adding it gently, little at a time, while you mix your dough with the low speed. Note that the flour I use in this recipe is all-purpose flour, but if you have a bread flour, you can use it. Also, the butter, I scald it first before melting it, because a lot of people found it difficult to understand how comes the melted butter in the first video. So I had to measure out the butter first, or the margarine, anyone, before melting it and before using it in the recipe. Once you are done combining or adding in the butter or the margarine, then you have to set the speed to a medium speed so that it's going to start kneading thoroughly. Okay, it's going to start kneading thoroughly. If you are using your hand, you have to hit this with either a rolling pin or on your work surface until it is soft and very, very elastic. If you notice, there was no addition of egg and milk in this recipe, because a lot of you may ask, why did I not add them? Agege bread does not require egg and milk. So once you have kneaded your dough till it's stretchy, soft and elastic, just as you see in the video, that means that your dough is ready. Okay, then you're going to take this dough out of the mixer bowl and transfer it on a lightly floured work surface. You have to cover this dough to rest for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, the reason for you to cover this dough is for the dough to relax. Like in the first video, okay, I didn't keep the dough to relax for that 5 to 10 minutes. But if you also want, you can also just not leave it to rest. You can just go ahead and cut it immediately. But if you also want, you can just allow it to rest for like 5 to 10 minutes so that the dough will relax. Then by the time you start cutting it, it will be very soft and fluffier than it was once you took it out from the mixer. Then after this resting time, you have to cut the dough, scale the dough and roll it out. Then you fold the dough before dropping the dough into your grease loaf pan. So in this video, I used my 11 by 4 inches loaf pan and I scaled each dough 700 grams. So you can also scale between 650 to 700 grams is fine, or depending on the size of your pan. If your pan is bigger than mine, you know what to do. If your pan is smaller than mine, you know what to do. So after scaling the dough, like I said, you have to roll it out. This will help to remove air bubbles in the dough and also make the dough to be more compact again, and also to make the dough to be fluffier. Once you are done rolling up the dough, you transfer into your grease loaf pan like I said, and you cover this, allow it to proof for 1 hour 30 minutes. This proving time depends on the size of your pan. If your pan is bigger than mine, that means the proving time will take longer. If your pan is smaller than mine, the proving time will be lesser. So after the proving time, this is what you have. You can see the extent to which the dough has gotten. That is okay. So after this proving time, the next thing we do is to bake. Make sure your oven is heated up. Make sure your oven has heated up before you transfer this dough into your oven to bake. So I baked in my preheated oven at 160 degrees C for 45 minutes. You don't need too much heat to bake this bread, okay? Unless you want your bread to come out more brown than mine. Like in my first video, I baked a little longer and at a higher temperature than this. So I ended up having my bread so brown, which most people like. And also, if you don't want it that way, if you want it lightly brown, just like this one you see here, you have to bake at a lower temperature so that your bread will not brown that much. But me, I also like brown bread anyway, so whether it's brown or lightly brown, I don't mind. What is best for me is it soft, is it sweet, is it delicious, and I'm okay with that. So you can see how soft and buttery this bread is, and also you can see it's very delicious. If you try this recipe, you are going to love it. So put all this together and you're going to make an amazing agege bread. Thank you for watching and see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share.